Welcome to the Barrow v Bradford match reaction. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Not the result we wanted. Could have got a draw at the end with that late goal by Andy Cook, which meant nothing. But on Andy Cook, good on him really. He's lost a load of weight in pre-season, deserved the goal, because coming off the bench against, who did we play last week? Whoever we played last week, Doncaster. This week he came off the bench. He looks up for it, lost his weight, and he looks quicker, energetic, and he shows a lot more passion than Verdane Oliver is at the minute. I know it's early, and I'm not going to judge or critique Oliver yet. He's still got a load of time, but so far, I'm not being impressed from him. First half of the game against Doncaster, he was alright. Today, it just don't seem like he's up for it that much, really. I mean, he stands there and hopes, and he puts his body around when the ball goes round him, but he don't make that effort to press or to, try and cut anything out that they're doing. Unlike Andy Cook, he came on straight away, has something to prove, but, he's good enough to beat Bradford City because of all the rumours, and, maybe Hughes might be looking at moving him on, but he's showing that he's good enough, and I think with Andy Cook, he's had a good couple of games, so I'd start him next game. And same with Jake Young. From what I saw of him in pre-season, I liked him, and today came on, changed the game, got a goal, and pretty much he got a Fantasy Premier League assist. But yeah, I think he was brilliant, give us something different, bit of pace, and a bit of confidence, where just knock it round the player, do him for pace, and then try to get something in, whether it's a shot off or cross in the box, and that's what we needed today. Chapman, I've not been impressed so far, but I think he's a different type of player. If we had Chapman and Easil or Chapman and Young, it'd be a good balance, but Chapman and Dangol, it's not, because they're two similar players where, they're sort of robotic, where they'll just jigger around and be a bit of creative. Angol hold it up, where Chapman's more creative, but if you have a creative spark in Chapman and then the pace of Young or Isa, it's a good balance off the wing. But Angol and Chapman are too similar, and Angol's just not a winger really. I mean, he holds the ball up well and brings others in to play well, so I think he's more of a striker. I think now, for me, if I'm manager, Verdane Oliver's third choice. I won't start him, and he'd have to come off the bench and try and prove himself now. I'd rather have Angol up front than him, but at the minute I'd rather have Andy Cook, because he seems like one of the most motivated players in the squad at the minute. But yeah, the performance, we weren't great at all, but we had a lot of the ball again, and Barrow didn't. They sat back and tried to counter us like I thought they would, with a pacing behind. And their first goal, Whitfield, he's a good player, he's quite a nippy, tricky player, and that's how he got his goal. He quickly turned Smallwood and then went inside, and then Platt couldn't turn quick enough and got a good shot off, but maybe Smallwood and Platt should have done better. And then, and then the third goal, the winning goal, no, the second goal, which we thought was a winning goal. Sorry, bouncing around, Platt didn't clear it, Halliday couldn't get out of the post quick enough to close the player down to get a block in. We just didn't seem like we knew how to get rid of the ball. We're like a hot potato, it just bounced around. So yeah, we just looked a bit indecisive really at the back. Critchlow were good at the back, but his yellow card, I feel like he should have come off, because it was perhaps when he wasn't, he nearly got sent off, and Barrow fans were calling for him to be off. The referee gave him a chance, and then he was a bit different after then. He wasn't using his pace, and he wasn't going in people's faces like he does. He presses into challenges, and then he's got pace so he can get back. He wasn't doing that. So I think we had to bring him off for Odesino or even Songo. And then Songo came on, didn't do anything, like I didn't think he would. I don't know why we brought him on. Maybe for a bit of height from set pieces, but even then we're not going to match Barrow's height, because we've just took Oliver off, and Cook's tall, but not the biggest. So yeah, we passed the ball around too much, and then if we were going to keep doing that, then we might have got through. But we didn't. We'd passed the ball and then we'd hoof it to Oliver. And, you know, when we brought in Oliver, I thought, yeah, alright, he seems like a good reputational player. But is he the type of player we need? You know, he's good in the air, he's tall. But the problem with him is that we're aiming for him all the time to try and get flick-ons. But it ain't suiting the system because we want to get the ball down and get creative, you know, play like Man City essentially, where we're trying to create tapping opportunities and passing the ball around and tiring the opposition. But that's not happening because we keep then doing it a bit and then we hoof it up to Oliver, which is probably confusing the players a bit. But you know, we do need to have a set way of playing, and I don't think Oliver really suits it. Whereas when Cook comes on, he presses, which is different to last season. He looks a different player, and I'm happy with him. But on to the player ratings. Harry Lewis, 5. I mean, he was alright. I'm not saying he had a bad game, just a bit of a below average game, especially for his standards from what I've seen. He'll have better games and he'll probably have worse games, but, you know, I think he seemed a bit indecisive at times. He hoofed the ball out of play a couple of times, and there was one point where he came running out of goal and their player had a tap him, but he tried looping it. So that could have been a big mistake, and I think perhaps he struggled a bit to command his area a couple of times. Maybe with their last goal where it fizzed across, could he have stepped out of his goal line and perhaps caught it? I don't know, but I think we should have done better today, and he's one of those players who I think could have had a better game. Brad Halliday, I'll give him a 6. He could have got forward a bit more and perhaps been a bit more creative and give us a bit more of an option on that right side, but defensively I thought he was quite solid at times. It does look like he's going to be quite a solid player for us this season. Matty Platt, I'll give him a 5. At fault for, perhaps you could say we're at fault for all of them, but I'll say he's at fault for both. Their first and second goal, when he just first won't get rid, and then first one, you know, maybe he could have moved quicker to get a block in. But apart from them, he did have a decent game, but I think playing against his former club perhaps got in his head a bit. Critchlow, I'll give him a... It's hard because he was at fault for the last one. The last goal, could have stepped out and blocked it, but he just jogged. So I'll give him a 6, but before that, before he nearly got booked again and got sent off, he was brilliant, but then that sort of, I won't say knocked his confidence, but then he realised he had to calm down and he had to step away from stuff and he couldn't go into challenges, and I think we should have brought Odesina or Songo, and like I said, Liam Rydal, not a good game. I think going forward he's decent, he overhits a lot of crosses though, but I think defensively, again, he was one at fault. He was one of the players at fault for one of the goals and a few chances that fizzed across his side, where he just wasn't putting the effort in to get back. And I don't know if that's because he's getting older or he hasn't got the pace, but he just looked to be half jogging back, and he won't get in to tackles enough. And I just don't think he showed enough effort today. But going forward, he looks decent, but defensively, I think he could have been better. Onto midfielders, Smallwood and Deist, I'll give them both 7s. I think Smallwood's probably, right, he's our star player. I think we do need another star player, maybe out wide, you know, like a Dion Pereira. I know a lot of fans are going on about Pereira, and it is a bit of an obsession, but I think him in this team would make a huge difference. He'd open up defences. Last season, he'd take a player on and he'd end up skinning 3 of them, and then chances open up. We just need someone who's going to commit men. That's what Jake Young did today. I think that's what we need, that star player out wide. But hopefully Chapman, you know, he gets in the swing of it. And same with Oliver. It could be just for it's the start of the season, but Smallwood, so far, he's got on with things. He wants the ball. He's a fantastic passer, long range, short range. And he does get stuck into challenges. He's a leader. He's just fantastic, and I think he's going to be a 7 out of 10 every game. Even if he ain't having the best of games, he'll still be a 7 out of 10 because he's a class above everyone else in the division and in our team. Ryan East, I'll give him a 7 because I think he was tidy on the ball. I think if perhaps Smallwood was the player who's more advanced and East were sitting back a bit. I think that's what East would prefer. I think that'd probably help us more, because I think Smallwood has got a good shot on him, and him being the more creative and more of a box-to-box than East would be better, because East doesn't seem like the player who wants to have a shot or wants to put a cross in. He's the type of player who wants to keep the ball moving, keep it rotating, and trying to start attacks from just keep the ball moving at pace. And I think that's the type of player he wants to be. And I think if Smallwood were that more advanced player, I think would probably be better. I think East would be better, and I think perhaps Smallwood would be as well for it. Chapman, 5. He had a few good moments in the game, but he didn't do enough. For where we want to be this season, and for the player who Harry Chapman is, he needs to be more of a spark for us. He ain't creating enough chances, he ain't taking enough players on. He's a creative player who, might take a few shots. And yeah, we might have missed Jamie Walker today, but, players in them positions have to step up, and they just didn't today. Gilead, 5, non-existent. I can't say I noticed Gilead that much today. He had a few moments, but if you told me Gilead were playing and I didn't know already, did he? Because he was just quiet as a mouse. He was really quiet, and when someone came on he'd give a bit more, but we really missed Jamie Walker today. And Gilead, although he's coming back from injury, he has to do better to try and give himself that chance to be playing, because he's probably going to get ahead of Smallwood or East, and out wide he doesn't seem confident enough to take a player on, and I don't think he's good enough at crossing or shooting. So that number 10 position, he had to make it his own today, and he just didn't take the opportunity. So hopefully Walker's injury isn't serious and he can come back in soon, but Gilead didn't take the opportunity. Then on the other wing, Angol, 5 as well. I can't say I noticed him all too much. He didn't do a lot, hold the ball up a bit, but I think he's more of a striker. He's out of position really, and when Jake Young came on, I'd give him a 7, maybe an 8, because he just give us something different, a bit of pace, a bit of energy, and them 2 changes, Young and Cook, it could have so nearly changed the game and made us win, but it just didn't, unfortunately. And I do think I'd start them 2. So Cook and Young, I'd give them both 7s, and Verdane Oliver, I'm giving him a 5, because just like Gilead, just like Angol, a bit non-existent and a bit lazy, to be fair to him. I don't think he put enough effort in today, and especially when you look at the comparisons between Andy Cook and Verdane Oliver, there's a big difference in effort. And throughout pre-season, with Andy Cook losing so much weight and putting probably more in to get him into this position where he's our main striker, and I think at this point he has to be our main striker. Songo came on 6. I want to give him a 5, because he probably shouldn't have come on, and he didn't do anything apart from misplace a few passes, because he ain't a midfielder, he ain't a defence midfielder, he's more of a centre back, he ain't composed enough to be a midfielder, he ain't good at passing, he ain't as good as passing as most midfielders in that position are in this league. For example, Easton Smallwood, he ain't that type of player, so he shouldn't really be playing there, and I think he just wanted to look at him, Hughes, for a few minutes to see him how he'd adjust in that position, but that's why we've had pre-season. And I also think he probably came on just for a bit of aerial ability from set pieces, but he didn't give that either. So I'd probably give him a 6, just because he only had about 5 minutes. And then I can't really think of anyone else. Levi Sutton, I'll give him a 6, give a bit of energy, he always gives energy, but he don't really give much more than that. Anyway, that's the end of this match reaction. Poor result, 3-2 to Barrow, probably a team we should be beating, who were predicted to be down there. But, I've got to take my hat off to Barrow, they were decent today, a couple of counter-attacks that were threatening, and to be fair to them, they've scored 6, conceded 4 against 2 teams who should be towards the top, in Stockport and us. They scored a good goal, and, I wish them the best of luck, but for us, we really have to be not concerned, because there's only 2 games, still 44 games. When you look at other teams like Bristol Rovers, last season they were down way in the bottom half last season, and then after Christmas turned it round, and they went on a brilliant run and got promotion on last day. And no matter what, if you have a run of around 15 games of wins and draws, mainly wins, if you can get maybe 12 wins in a row with a few draws in there, then you're going to be up there. If you can have a couple of runs like that in the season, you're going to be challenging. And with the start we've had, we do look good on the ball, and it's nothing to be concerned of because it's so early on. But we do have to try and get some wins, you know, and it'll start next Saturday. But the next game is Tuesday against Hull City. It's on Sky. Hopefully we can get a win there and possibly go on a bit of a cup run, because we have been famous for it in the last 10 years. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Poor result, performance weren't great, but hopefully we can pick off with a result in the next game. Have a good one.